if you're gonna comment on our
Yeah.
stuff, don't comment immediately with negative things, man. That's what our goal is on this podcast. Did you say it at the beginning? Our goal is to
Focus on the
um
solutions.
yeah, focus on the solutions and not be so negative. And I do know that we do have to make sure that we talk about some of the downsides. But I will say, I post a lot of those YouTube shorts, man. And somebody will hear us talk for 30 seconds and say, well, that won't work because of this, this, and this. I don't, you guys didn't even mention these other things. And I have to say, go listen to the full episode. We talk for like 30, 40 minutes, sometimes an hour. Go listen to the whole episode. And this is probably going to be a short, so it's going to say watch the full episode. This is our commercial for watching the full episode, so you get all the information and not just tell Los that he's awful off of a 30-second clip.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Upsiders. We're just guiding you. We're guiding you through
Yeah.
not just the problems that we face in today's world, but the actual solutions. We focus on the people, the groups, the organizations who are doing the work. And
You.
so,
We focus
It
on
might
you.
be you. It might
You're
be you.
doing the work.
So thanks for tuning in. Thanks
Not
for
enough
listening.
people appreciate you.
That's right. Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe, follow us, tell your friends, family, worst enemies about us. Share the news, share the gospel. And rate us if you haven't already. Well, I mean, if this is your first time, give us a chance first. But then, hey, give us a rating, give us a review wherever you can. And yeah, well, hopefully we'll see you on so many more episodes. But today, which, by the way, before we dive into that, let me introduce myself. My name is Los, aka your friendly neighborhood Los, aka the artist formerly known as Los. And beside me, and as always, is
Yeah. Bus rider Bertram.
oof,
Yeah,
front seat.
I'm scanning, tapping my card at the front. Ding.
Yes,
Thanks for
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Do
much.
you do you thank your bus driver, Los?
Oh,
Do you
absolutely, all the time. Even if
when
they
you're
can't hear
coming
me.
on and when
Yeah.
you're leaving?
I think there's a passive thank you when I'm tapping on, but
Bus
definitely when
drivers
I
are
get
very
off.
skilled. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
I always appreciate how every time I'm getting out at the back of the bus, do you notice the bus driver always makes eye contact with you to make sure that they're like, oh, okay, I need to open the back for that
Yeah,
person. They do it every time,
they're
Los,
great.
and when they make eye contact, I wave them, and say, thank you very much, have a good day. Like bus drivers are the unsung heroes of the city. They do quality work.
Shout outs to bus drivers. Do we have a segment that's called Unsung Hero? They may be the one. I know you
We
have
do.
someone else,
We
but
well, unfortunately, it's Luxembourg, but we can push Luxembourg aside for the bus driver today. Just we'll
yeah,
make Luxembourg number two.
on today's episode, we're focused on free transit, free public transit, that is.
Mm,
Ooh, hoo, hoo. And so, Bertram,
yeah.
this is not a trick question. I'm not, this
Okay.
isn't a gotcha,
You're not gonna. Okay. Good.
but explain the role that public transit has in your life and how you view public transit.
Oh, yeah, man. I haven't owned a car in many, many, many years. Namely, how old am I?
What, 86, right?
Yeah, I'm 86 and I haven't owned a car in my 86 years. I don't know why. I'm a messed up dude. I don't know. I think I have some trauma or something. But I have always loved public transit, and I lived in Los Angeles with my good friend Los, my friendly neighborhood Los, and we lived off public transit there. And I live in Indianapolis now, and we have a robust public transit system where it gets you everywhere you need to go. So I ride my bike sometimes. I take the bus. I ride Uber and Lyft. So I walk a lot of places, Los. So that's my extent of my public transit. How about you?
Well, first off, I'm a lover of cities. I love cities. I love that
Yeah,
it's this network of people with a bunch of goals and priorities, and they're
you're
all
never going to the burbs.
Oof, don't get me
Me,
started.
ooh, me
That's
neither.
for
Me
another
neither.
podcast we had called Mad Mad World. And Yeah, maybe I've talked about it on past episodes, but yeah, the burbs aren't for me. I love cities, and one of like an artery of a great city is
Mm.
a great public transit system. It keeps the blood flowing, if you will, if you think of an
Ooh.
artery. And so, yeah, it gets the most people possible to where they need to go. And I just appreciate that. If you've been to my opinion, only mine only, but if you are a great city, you need a great public transit system. And me being from Los Angeles, we have a good public transit system, and I think that's what keeps us from being cream of the crop, like your New
Yeah.
Yorks, your Parises, your Londons, your Tokyos.
Well, didn't we talk on a previous episode about how they want to build that like public transit sky rail or something from the big state downtown stadium?
There's a
It's not a
there's
downtown
a
stadium.
gondola project. Yeah,
Yeah.
we spoke about this off air, but yeah, there's a gondola that they. So if you those who you don't know, Dodger Stadium is basically on this mountain. It's like a big hill, and the way to get there is to go up this treacherous hill and by car or by bus or whatever, and it just makes for a lot of traffic, a lot of congestion because there's only a few entry points, and so everyone has to converge into these areas, and it just causes a headache.
Mm.
And when you think of great cities, great American ballparks, they're usually centered in very urban areas.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Indianapolis. They don't have a major league team, but they have this minor league stadium, which
Hey,
is right outside, right out downtown, right? Very
we're getting
accessible.
a new soccer stadium too.
Yeah, yeah. So, but Dodger Stadium has they proposed this aerial gondola to ferry people from the Union Station that's below the hill back up to Dodger Stadium, which is on what they call Chavez Ravine. There's a backstory there that you should know about. But yeah, so they've met a lot of resistance. There's valid reasons, sure, privacy concerns or what do they call
Oh,
that?
yeah, of course. Okay.
Gentrification. But
Not in
all in
my
all,
backyard.
yeah, all in NIMBYism. But yeah, all in all, I think it's a decent solution to a very complex problem. But I think
Those
that yeah,
the Dodgers don't play in Brooklyn anymore?
no, they don't. No, they
Since
don't.
when?
No Ebbets Field. No Ebbets
Oh
Field
man.
anymore. But yeah, anyway.
I used to go there when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think since you are 87 years old, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Is the gondola free, Los?
It would be on
Would
game
it be?
days, yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
But
Hmm.
so there's some things to be aware of. I think it's limited to I think taking 5,000 people on game day, which Dodger Stadium seats around 55, 56,000. So it's not the most, but it helps. It helps.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
You touched on this thing of how public transit is the artery of a city.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned about in our research is it's actually our Upsider word of the week. It's a phrase, transit oriented development. Have you ever heard that before?
Of course I have. Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, do you want to describe it, or I can too? But you just have a
No,
beautiful voice,
no,
Los.
but I mean you could get into it, but yeah, I think so I think in this day and age, right, with the way cities are going, and there's only so much. We spoke of NIMBYs, which stands for not in my backyard. There's a lot of resistance towards building in already built out neighborhoods, and so there's these ideas of what neighborhoods could be, and how do you incentivize people to take public transit? How do you maximize space and around public transit? So, transit oriented or TOD, transit oriented developments, is basically, yeah, just creates environments or areas around these transit hubs. So, you could have shops, you could have residential, you could have Yeah, just walkable areas around
Mm.
these sectors here. So
Yeah, I put a
yeah.
link in the show notes to a sort of a definition of transit-oriented development and from the Federal Transit Administration, and they talk about there's a lot of successful things that TOD can leverage when you invest in public transit, right? Because we're going to get into this conversation of, is free public transit good for cities? Which ones? How is it good? What are some of the downsides? What is the upside? What do we do about this? So I think it's important to talk about, well, what sort of things does that artery of public transit, what can it build in your city? And so the Federal Transit Authority gives 7 things. You already talked about it. Number one, right, neighborhood revitalization. Essentially, you can revitalize some neighborhoods with by leveraging good public transit. More affordable housing. Los, can you explain, if you have a robust public transit system, how does that make housing more affordable?
If you have a robust, well, first off, I mean, you get to make housing more dense, so you get to fit in more units within less area than that would take of like single family housing. So um, also that's yeah, I think what you could remove also from being a resident is the cost of owning a car, right? So that's a big expense that a lot of people have to factor in when they live in a specific area. Is okay, I know I have to pay this for my rent or my mortgage, but also how much money I have to apply in gas or pay in insurance and all of that. Also, for developers, you don't have to worry so much about maintaining roads and stuff because I know
Yes,
that's an
absolutely.
expense if you're developing in a specific area. You are also in charge of, or also have a part at least, in maintenance of the roads that surround the area, which weighs into how much it costs to build, which
That's a
gets
big one.
passed along to the buyer. Yeah.
Yeah. And we save that for later because we need to get back into that, because that is one of the great upsides of how you make up for reduced fare or
Mm.
free fare systems. Public and private investment helps leverage public transit. Economic returns to surrounding landowners and businesses. Increased ridership for transit systems. Congestion relief and improved air quality. And then improved safety for pedestrians and cyclists. Those are the 7 things that having transit oriented development can leverage in your city.
Mm. Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of positives there, but Bertram, to be fair, yeah,
Yeah.
Bertram has shared. There's been critics of some of what we've shared on the on this podcast
Oh
about.
man. So far, like, if you're gonna comment on our
Yeah,
stuff, don't comment immediately with negative things, man. That's what our goal is on this podcast. Did you say it at the beginning? Our goal is to
focus on the
um,
solutions.
yeah, focus on the solutions and not be so negative. And I do know that we do have to make sure that we talk about some of the downsides. But I will say, I post a lot of those YouTube shorts, man. And somebody will hear us talk for 30 seconds and say, well, that won't work because of this, this, and this. I don't, you guys didn't even mention these other things. And I have to say, go listen to the full episode. We talk for like 30, 40 minutes, sometimes an hour. Go listen to the whole episode. And this is probably going to be a short, so it's going to say, watch the full episode. This is our commercial for watching the full episode, so you get all the information and not just, tell Los that he's awful off of a 30-second clip. No one
Which
talk. No one says you're awful. It's usually me.
it doesn't matter
I'm
to
ugly.
me. But no, you're not. But so okay, rather than saying okay, what are the downsides or the cons versus the pros, what's a common perception of public transit
Ooh.
in today's world, at least in the United States?
Oh, I would say that it's in a lot of my research, they all said the same thing, which is, well, public transit's for poor people, low access, low income, mentally ill, all those things. They said, well, we don't those people don't give back to society. So why are we going to invest in this? It's not going to be a moneymaker.
So yeah, I agree. Public transit, in other words, it's seen as undesirable in a lot of parts of this
Yeah.
country, where yeah, it's second rate. There's a perception that yeah, that's just not the, I don't know, the most accommodating way to travel. Um, and there's valid critiques, right, because of how well or lack thereof funding, right, that goes into public transit, that it's not the most reliable,
Yeah.
it's not as punctual, it doesn't connect to many of the places you want to go in a very straightforward way. Um, a good example of that is here in Los Angeles, for instance. Let's say you wanted to go from Santa Monica, the beach, to I don't know, let's say Universal Studios. If that were
Mm.
the case right now, you have to, if you wanted to take the train from Universal Studios to Santa Monica, you go on Santa Monica, which is right along the beach. You have to go all the way east and to back to central LA, downtown, connect on a train which goes now back northwest, um, to the valley where
Mm.
Universal Studios is, and that will take you around an hour and a half. Versus if you're on the car, hop on the freeway,
Yep.
take like the 405 and maybe some other connections there, and you're there
Don't
in
go
a
during
fraction.
rush hour though.
Yeah, even yeah, it's
It'll take you
almost,
5 hours.
but it's almost the same, right? If you were to, you basically go there in rush hour times at any time of the day. If you were to try and go, yeah, it's ridiculous. Um, which yeah, and so there's these connections because a lot of public transit in the United States is the main hub is a central part in downtown of any given city. But when you have a city like Los Angeles, and I'm sure there's so many others where there's a lot of like hot spots or highly dense spots outside of downtown,
Yeah.
going through downtown doesn't make the most sense. You need to have multiple connections, which just isn't the case here, and it's just the way that they've developed these systems that just aren't conducive to the way people actually
Sure.
travel.
Well, and it's interesting for Indianapolis because I don't remember if we talked about this, but and I think you know it, is that Indianapolis was just mostly the downtown area many, many years ago, and essentially there were all these surrounding neighborhoods and little cities like
Mhm.
Irvington, and Indianapolis just basically branched out like we're going to take the whole county. And so that the whole county is now just going to be Indianapolis. And so there's all these smaller towns that make up Indianapolis, and our transit centers right in the heart of downtown Indianapolis, which is great because I live near the transit center. I don't live too far from downtown. But what do you do with all these other parts of Indianapolis that are far out? It makes it difficult, which is why Indianapolis has been spending a lot of time creating these new lines, right? We got the purple
Mhm.
line, we got the bus line or the blue line. So they're working on it, but it is a process.
Yeah, it's a process. So
And every city's built differently.
so let's get into the big idea of this episode, and that
Yeah.
is making public transit free. Now,
Yeah.
granted, full disclosure, this is an idea, everyone. That's what the Upsiders is all about,
Yeah.
exploring ideas. So we're
We need
not
to
saying.
pass legislation on this. Every
So,
city has to do it.
and yeah, I would argue so. But so, Bertram, what is the big idea?
Oh my gosh. So the big idea is how do you um, grow your city and create more, I guess, economic opportunity and have more growth as a city by either reducing the fare of public transit or making it completely free.
Yeah.
There's been multiple cities in the United States, but also like Luxembourg we talked about earlier, and we can get into them later that have just said we're just going to make public transit completely free, and have seen some economic growth. I did see one. I think it was Atlanta, maybe. There, I got to go back into the show notes where I guess they did tout that one city was very successful with free transit, and then they had to stop it.
Mm.
And I was going to be real excited and make them my hero of the week, Los, and then I found out that like 4 months ago they had to repeal free public transit.
Oh,
I'll put that one in the show notes too. I might already have it in there. So that's our goal, is how do we talk about what is the upside of having free public transit?
yeah. Um, yeah, and I will say there was I don't know if this made it to the show notes. I don't think so, but a while ago, my partner and I, Jill, um, we were playing around with possibly moving to different cities, and I had this idea. I'd like to move to a smaller city, not like a small city, but not like a big S small, capital S small city, but a lowercase s small city, as in like literally less than 100,000 people small. And so one of the cities we landed on was Missoula, Montana, where
Oh,
I wanted, yeah, I had all these criteria. I forget what it was at the time, but Missoula was like, it's a city around the University of Montana, has around 75,000, at least at the time it did, 75,000 people. Um, yeah, and I just wanted it to not be like a town, but like a step up from a town, like a city. And so with Missoula, I found out that they had zero fare buses in there. And it helps
oh,
that it's a college ish town, but also, yeah, like big enough to sustain, like, a heavy population of, you know, middle income workers and stuff like that. So that was my first exposure of a North American, or even moreover, a US based city with free buses, or zero fare, as they would say. Um, so yeah, shout outs to them. I don't know where I was going with that, but that was just an example of
yeah.
a place that I was aware of early on that had free public transit, zero fare, I should say.
Yeah. I found what that city was. So I looked at the show notes, and I was Kansas City, Missouri. And in the show notes, I have about 3 or 4 paragraphs from a bunch of different sources that say, "Oh, this we did studies on free transit in Kansas City, and it attracted more writers. Like, there's all this great data that supports it." And I was so excited. And then I stumbled upon an article from April that I put in the show notes that said Kansas City will reinstate bus fares and reduce route frequency under new funding plan. And it said the plan will reinstate $2 fares for most people. Kansas City was the first major U.S. city to end fares in 2020. There's a link to that in that article in the show notes too, about when it decided to end fares. But under their proposed functionality free fare model, low income riders and people receiving aid from social service agencies such as veterans or unhoused people will not be charged fares. And so they're trying to transition away from that. However, Los, there is a site called freepublictransport.info, and they have a list of all the cities that are currently experimenting with free public transit. And there's a lot of USA cities on here. In fact, there's more
Yes.
United States cities than anything else, it looks like. Oh man, is that Poland? Poland's got a bunch too. Akron, Columbus, Albuquerque, Baltimore, apparently. Chapel Hill is the big one. Chapel Hill kept coming up in a lot of the research, but I think one of the biggest ones is going to be college towns, right?
Yeah.
It's very easy for college towns, and it's a good strategy for college towns to implement free fare, especially for students. But obviously, it needs to be said that, well, that works if you're right there on a university, right? So that's not going to work for every city. But that's a really smart idea. Jacksonville's on here, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Salt Lake City. So I will go through and double check to say, because I see Kansas City's on there too, and so Kansas City should be off. So we'll see if it's an updated list. But there's a lot of people, different cities, experimenting with this.
Yeah. It's as they should. And so Why is, maybe this is a harder question, but why
Mm.
is that a good strategy of making public transit free or zero fare, as that term is used, compared to just charging them the usual fare?
Ooh. Well, one of the things that I looked at, and this could be our next segment, we do a weekly segment here called That's Actually an Upside. This is actually my favorite segment, Los, where we look at something that should be problematic and we try and talk about the upside. So you just gave us our problem, right? What
Mm-hmm.
is it about why free fare? That why you just gonna let people go for free? Because now you're losing a bunch of money,
Yeah.
right? But man, Los, have you ever had some trouble with loading times while taking the bus? Like you get on, you're like, man, this bus is slowing down because there's like five people trying to scan it, and there's a
Uh,
guy who's got to put his bike at the at the front, and then there's the lady who can't find her card. Have you ever experienced that where people get frustrated on the
or the
bus?
person in the wheelchair, which, hey, I'm all
Yeah.
for handicap access, but like, if you're in a
Um,
hurry
you're about
somewhere.
to get us. You're about to get us real
No,
canceled.
you're in a hurry somewhere, and you're like, okay, man, if this bus makes every stop on time, I still have a chance of getting there. But then you hear like the beep, beep,
Oh
beep.
man.
Damn it.
Ooh, that bus driver really looks at those minutes too. And if we're 5 minutes behind, that bus driver is like, just go ahead, just go through.
Yeah, so people boarding, right? Okay.
Yeah. So the costly, time consuming process of collecting fares is the problem. The upside is that if you eliminate cash handling, studies show, and I got a link in the show notes, it speeds up the bus by up to 10%. That means a city with 100 buses can effectively add the service capacity of 10 free buses without having to buy new vehicles or hiring new drivers. So it improves the efficiency of that model, which you can imagine. Okay, if we have more efficiency, we talked about adding pickup times, right? Like how do you increase your stops or how many routes that you do? The more efficient that your transportation is going to be, the more people will rely on it, and the better it's going to boom for the local economy.
Hmm. That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think, what do I think? I think that's, yeah, I think also, yeah, when it just helps with, it's like a time tax, right? And one of
yeah.
the, we spoke of early on of
I'm 85 years old.
the perceptions, and I mean, really, the realities too is that because of what makes public transit maybe not as reliable is the stops that, they have to take, the constant stops. Just on my observation, I don't really have data around this, but um, from a time perspective, I found that like usually it's like 10 minutes per mile I could depend on public transit getting from point A to point B, right?
Mm.
Um, 10 minutes a mile, which is like that adds up. So if you have a place that's 5 miles away, right, that could take almost an hour if it's on a bus. Trains could be faster yeah, for sure. But on a bus, it's like, yeah, that could take a while. And so if you could cut that down by cutting down how much cash you collect or fares,
Mm.
um, making it more tap based all the time. I Around here, there's also buses where you could tap in, regardless any door that's open, there's a tapper there. So, it's not just
Mm.
bottlenecking on one part. It's like the middle door you could tap, the back door you could tap, and so you don't always have to just interface with the driver's side to be able to board.
Yeah, and the more efficient you're able to use your public transportation costs and your TOD, right? We talked about the transit oriented development. The more you're able to develop, one of the biggest costs in the city of Indianapolis, and I imagine it's like this in a lot of places, is infrastructure costs, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Biden passed that big infrastructure bill, and I think Trump's working on one right now, and they're talking about it's in the news. Trump wants to cut a lot of public transportation funding. And one of the big things is building highways, maintaining roads. Every driver hates the roads. Los. They're always complaining about potholes. We just fixed up these roads. And then Indianapolis, since COVID, has just shut down every street in the entire city. Los. Like, you can't get anywhere. You were here during that time. We started a huge infrastructure project in 2020, and they were like, it's just going to be 2 years, and everything's just been shut down. It's been awful, man. And if you are able to have a more efficient transit system, it's going to be more efficient than cars, right? When more people ride transit, the city saves money because you don't have to build expensive new highway lanes. You can avoid massive tax subsidized parking garages, and you could reduce wear and tear on existing roads, saving millions on maintenance. Like, and this is what I want to hear you talk about, because I think you've talked about this before, right? It's like our roads can just not maintain the heavy amount of cars that are constantly on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's common sense when you think about it. It's like wearing a pair of shoes, and you wear that same pair of shoes over and over again, and then like a year and a half in, you're complaining why your shoes break down so fast. I'm like, it's because you wore it every day, dude, and you did all kinds of stuff. You jumped in it, you dragged it through the mud, you rain, snow, all of that, and it's like, you need to maintain it, and that costs a lot of money, and it's due to overuse. So if we could lighten the load on these roads, maybe crazy idea, maybe they could last longer. And how do you get less load on these roads is get less people to drive, less cars on it. So, and how do you get less people on cars? Put them through transit. Give them more modes so they could get from where they need to go to where they want to go.
That's beautiful.
So I don't know, crazy idea, but yeah, maybe free fares isn't the panacea, as they would say, but it's at least a barrier of entry, right? It's like, okay, if cost is your concern, why don't we eliminate that or significantly reduce that? Ooh. And then, because unlike with roads, they have this term called what do they call it? I can't remember. But when you build more capacity on a road, more people ride it. Oh, induced demand, right? So this idea is induced demand. So oftentimes when you look at, okay, how could we resolve traffic in this area? The idea is build more lanes, build another freeway or highway. And what happens is, you've built more capacity, but the traffic comes back because word gets out that they opened a new road here, or, oh, this road has a new lane, so let me just take that. And so people all think the same thing, and so before you know it, there you go, more traffic. And so people who, I think, critics of that term, or who maybe disagree with that, is that, okay, well, we've increased capacity, so that means that it is doing well for traffic. But people don't care about capacity. They really care about congestion. How do I beat this? How do I get to where I need to go with the least amount of friction? And building more and more roads just is not the solution. It's been proven. But unlike with roads, induced demand works perfectly in transit, because the more people you have riding transit, the more you get to build out that capacity. You get more feedback as to which lines you need to build out, and that takes significantly less time to figure out, oh, we could increase the frequency of these lines, or open up another line, than it is building a whole, excuse my French, but goddamn road again. Building another goddamn lane to another freeway, so we don't have to make this a 10-lane highway. Instead, it's just like, oh, this line will ride not just every 10 minutes now, we'll ride it every 5 to 7 during peak hours. And
You know
Yeah,
what makes me sad about that too is you add another lane to something, and it's not like, oh, now we can build more restaurants on that lane, and they're gonna have. It's like, no, it's still going to the same place, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
If you
So
put a bus line on there, all of a sudden you got a bunch more stops. People are stopping or walking in these neighborhoods. You could build more infrastructure. You could build more. We're going to need more restaurants. We're going to need more coffee shops. We're going to need more little stores and things like that. And so it's tough to get that when you're just building another highway lane.
yeah, so induced demand works perfectly in transit,
Mm.
terribly for roads and highways. So yeah, look that up if you haven't before. Induced demand. If you're thinking, man, this highway I take to get to work, if it just added 2 more lanes, things would be perfect. No, 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 sweetie. No, it would not. You just have maybe 3,000 more neighbors nearby while you're hating yourself in traffic. Um, but yeah,
Man, I really tried during this too to look at how can it possibly turn a profit? How could free transit possibly be more profitable so that people can see the bottom line? Because if it's not profitable, unfortunately, it's a tough sell, right? And so you talked about most of these things. Make transit the engine of a taxable real estate boom, right? How do you increase foot traffic, development intensity, property values? You can use free fare transit to increase residency and increasing tax breaks. I like capture parking revenue that transit makes possible. Los, I'm tired of all these parking garages, man. I'm tired of
please.
this
I'm
this
trying to stay
concrete
positive
jungle.
on this show so
Yeah,
you don't get to hear me rant about parking garages or parking lots which waste space, but
yeah.
just know that I feel that way.
You've been cursing more. And you called somebody honey. You're sweetie. What'd you say?
Sweetie, yeah.
Yeah, hey man, come on. This is a family show. Um, can you leverage institutional partnerships and bulk purchase agreements, boosting transit-oriented micro businesses and capture their revenue? That's what excites me the most. That's why I love New York City, man. I love that everybody. What?
No, I'm saying I love it
Oh,
too.
oh, okay. I thought you were just like, how dare you? I'm in Los Angeles. Like, we're both fans of Mom Donnie, and I love the idea that there's grocery stores on every block. Like New York is maybe the perfect place that I need to end up where I'm like, I could just go across the street and buy toilet paper and bananas. That's outstanding.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I really love that.
yeah, because a lot of people's concern when riding transit is like, man, I go to the grocery store once a week, I have my kids with me, and like, where am I going to put all this stuff? Am I just going to haul it with me on the train? It's like, no, it's just a whole new way of thinking about going to the grocery store. It's like you could take multiple trips like throughout the week as opposed to just taking one big trip to
Yeah.
the grocery store and then hauling all of that stuff to your overpriced SUV, stuffing that stuff in the trunk. Instead, you could just take what you need, a few bags, go in. Next one,
Yeah.
yeah, a few days later on Wednesday, you could go into the grocery store, really get what you need at that moment, and so on.
Man. And lastly, my favorite way to increase uh, turning zero fare transit into a money generator, make free transit increase tourism, and then monetize tourism. I went to Cincinnati for my birthday. The wife treated me to a getaway weekend, and Cincinnati's got all sorts of cool stuff. And what I noticed was we tended to go visit and hang out in places that were very population dense, right? Because they had a lot of things going on downtown Cincinnati. They had a Chris Kindle market going on. There were games. There was this really nice, it's called Finley Market, an outdoor market. And
Mhm.
I like to go where the people are, and there's a lot of things to do there, even if you're just walking the dog or going around there. So for me, I think, and I notice it when people come to Indianapolis too, right? When we have the All Star game, when we have all these things, people like to go and hang out where relatively where the bus line is,
Mhm.
and where all the people are. So knowing that, how do we continue to build tourism through our public transit system and make sure everything on that bus line has a really a lot of variability and a lot of attractions? I think that is a key to making it a money generator.
Absolutely, I agree. So, Bertram,
Yeah.
now for your, I guess it was your favorite, but second favorite segment of the show, unsung hero of the upside.
Oh yeah.
What do we got?
We talked about it earlier, man. It's our good friend Luxembourg. I have
Luxembourg.
a link in the show notes to an article from The Guardian called All Aboard! Can Luxembourg's free public transport help save the world?
Whoa, the
Uh,
world.
in 2020, in a bid to cut carbon emissions, Luxembourg made all its public transport free. But what is it like to use, and why are there still so many traffic jams? And then this, whoever wrote this article, Steve Rose, he went over there to find out. And what do you think he found, my friend?
Happiness.
Oh man, haven't we all? Um, yeah, Luxembourg became the first country in the world to make all public transit free, and their success proved that a wealthy, developed nation can sustain transit as a public good, and it validates the model globally. And so when he went over there, he talked about how he was able to just get. Oh man, there's all sorts of pictures. I don't think you can share your screen on this one, can you? You don't need to.
I can, but yeah, I it's a
Oh,
lot.
it's all good. Um, Luxembourg's dirty little secret: while basic amenities are prohibitively expensive, like a pint of beer costs about 750 euros, €7 and
Whoa.
50 cents. I don't know, 7.50. What is a year? Do euros use change? I don't
Seven
know.
€7 50 is how you would say
Thank you. €7 50.
it.
Petrol prices are the lowest in Western Europe. There are 4 petrol stations at the border because people in Belgium drive over to fill up. This kind of behavior is not helping for a change to a fossil free future, says Frederick Myers, Greenpeace's local campaign manager. And so take a look in the show notes. You'll find that Luxembourg is making it work and turning. They might save us all, man. They're really cutting down on costs. Look at the lowering price of petrol. Helping with the climate change by keeping people off the roads. So they launched free public transport in 2020. You must sell public transport in the same way cars have been sold in the past. The success of the car was not only able to go on an individual basis from A to B, but also the way of life that was being sold. We try to do this now in the same way.
Can you hear
There
me?
you are. Yeah, I hear you now.
Technical difficulties today. I gotta get our producers. They're gonna hear an earful today, but no worries.
They're gonna get fired.
No,
Ooh,
beautiful. So shout outs to Luxembourg.
they have a plan which goes to 2035, which will help address some problems. They want 50% more seats on commuter services to France, trains to and from France every 7 minutes by 2028. Luxembourg is even investing 225 million euros in modernizing French rail lines to its borders. All buses will be electric by 2030. A carbon tax on motor vehicles was introduced in 2020 and it's increasing year by year. Man, it's not that we're against cars. Cars will remain a major part of the mobility chain in the future. So maybe for your daily business, you go the first 5 kilometers by car, then park it, and the main part of your journey to work is by train. And then maybe you ride a bike the last mile. Shout outs to Europe, where
Yeah,
you could just get around easy.
yeah. I mean, like it's hard, like it's controversial. Like, yeah, it's like they just figured it out, and it's ironic because a lot of America or this United States originated from trains, right? If you're in any city that you're in, odds are it was a very popular train hub. Indianapolis, Chicago's, Denver's, Phoenix, Los Angeles, those all followed these routes of people on trains and taking things from point A to point B. And then once the car came along, we just abandoned that heritage that we had of just our train ingenuity. And but ironically or interestingly enough, Europe never abandoned that by and large. Even so much that you have countries like Germany, which build plenty of cars, right? We know of our Mercedes or BMWs or Volkswagens. Like they still have plenty good transit over there. Been to Berlin, love it. Yeah, yeah. It's but somehow we've just abandoned that here. Like we treat it like the boogeyman, public transit, but
Yeah.
it's not so bad.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's
if you
those car companies are very powerful here, and they
exactly.
spread a lot of propaganda.
the big car.
Yeah, big car. I see you over there, Detroit.
But yeah, we just
Your
abandoned
your
that.
your pizza's overrated too.
And
You ever had Detroit? It's too much bread. Why do you have so much bread? Cheese is where it's at. It
I
goes
like a
cheese,
good
then sauce, then bread. And for some reason, Detroit's like, no, we're gonna go bread first.
I like a Detroit pizza, so I'm not gonna.
Oh, you troublemaker.
But yeah, it's really great. I mean, public transit's good, man. You just got to put the love into it, and that's what we haven't
Yeah.
done in this country, and so that's why the perception is how it is. Because ironically, when people go on vacations to European cities, Southeast Asian cities, yeah, plenty of places, they'll they'll hail about how great the public transit is, and then trash
Yeah.
America. Oh, in America, it's never like that. Public transit's a mess, and I'm like, you ever wonder why? You know,
Ooh. Say
why?
more.
You
Say
know, is
more.
it just endemic that public transit in the United States is bad? No, that's not true. It's about the investment that's put in there. So,
And for me, that's the moral of this story, right? Is uh, I don't want transit to be seen as a social service. It's a powerful economic opportunity, right? That you said that transit is the artery of a city, and it's the best economic opportunity that we have to make vast improvements in our city. So please don't discount public transit. Please don't count it as just a social service. That's our moral of this story.
yeah,
That's our upside.
public service, not a social service. There's a difference.
Yeah. It's
So,
a smart investment.
yeah. So that's
Unless
it.
now it might not work for Oldenburg, Indiana, that has one main road, right? But that's understandable. I'm not trying to say that everybody should have a robust public transit system. It's
Let's
just,
start with cities.
yeah.
Start with cities, specifically larger cities, but just know there's a lot that could trickle down into smaller cities. We spoke about college cities, but just look around. There's so many places in we've used Europe as a good example where they don't have high density in so many places, but you could find perfectly good public transit in places that have like 100,000 people in Europe. That could be Switzerland, that could be Luxembourg, which in total only has what, like 600 some thousand for the whole country. So, there's different size. There's not one size fits all to have good public transit. You don't need to be in New York to have good public transit.
Here's a question, Los, and this is kind of an odd question that I just thought about. We're supposed to. It's 2025. We were owed flying cars, right? We've been owed. If you watch a lot of the science fiction and you read the science fiction books, flying cars should have already been invented. And do you think that maybe the first, trying outside of airplanes, obviously, should we do like a flying bus system or something like that? An air tram or something like that, and leave cars to the road and do like a big public system in the sky?
No, no, because where do you need to walk? On the ground. If you're gonna get some exercise, where's your dog gonna be?
That's
It's
a
on the
good point.
ground.
He could walk.
No, if anything, make cars vacate the roads. Leave that to people.
Mm.
Put them underground.
I ain't putting cars in the sky, brother.
No, put them underground. Put them
Oh,
in
okay.
tunnels and all of that fun
Well, that
stuff.
I'd be fine with. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
not mind them. Y'all can figure that
let
one
us
out.
reclaim the roads. That's the way I see it. But no, we
You
don't need to
just,
fly. Why do we need to go?
I want
I'm
the sky, man.
I'm grounded.
You can't take the sky from me.
Yeah,
At
let
least I
me.
have serenity. It's from Firefly.
But yeah, that's today's show, Bertram. So, any last words, final words for the audience?
No.
Cool.
Shout outs to Luxembourg.
Shout outs to Luxembourg. Shout outs to free
Check out the
public
show notes because
transit.
I put a
Yeah,
bunch of stuff in there. We're not just a bunch of idiots here talking about something that we haven't researched,
just made
right?
up.
Yeah, please check out our show notes. Hopefully, if you listen to the whole episode, just leave a nice comment and try and inspire somebody. You can be the change in the world.
Exactly. A lot of goodies for you in the show notes. So show some love. Check out all the
Trick or
content
treat.
that we put in there. Trick or treats. Happy holidays. Um, yeah, follow the podcast. Subscribe to us if you're watching on YouTube. Leave a like. Tell your friends, family, worst enemies, and yeah, we'll not just see you on the other side. We'll see you on the upside. Have a good one, everyone. Bye bye.